So students, till now we have discussed about globalization, the three factors which led to globalization. Then we discussed about Silk Route, the trade route and the cultural link also. Then we talked about food, how it played important role in creating global world. Then we talked about the conquest, disease and trade. And we discussed about biological warfare also. In this section, we are going to start from the birth of modernization. Okay. Now, when we talk about modernization, it started from the 19th century. Okay. In 19th century, you know what happened? There were certain economic, then political, social, cultural, as well as technological factors, which interacted in complex way and it transformed societies and its external relations also. Earlier, the requirements of a country used to be fulfilled within that country, everything. But later on, what happened? There was interaction between people, and what was the three factors which led to this? That was movement of people, then that was movement of goods and services, and then there was movement of capital. So all these three flows, it led to creating a new type of culture throughout the world that's known as global culture. Okay, and in this new era, no any country could survive in isolated economy. Okay, they have to, liberalize and modernize their economy. That was quite important. We'll try to understand this with the examples, like we'll take three examples. One example will be of the Corn Laws of England, then we'll talk about large-scale migration from Europe, and then we'll talk about canal colonies in Punjab. Okay, ये तीन example हम discuss करेंगे इस section में. Now let us first discuss about the British Corn Law. Okay, in late 18th century, there was increase in population in Britain. Okay, but उस space पर food production का increase नहीं हो पाया. Food production उस space पर increase नहीं हो पाया. Now what happened? If there is increase in population, there will be increase in demand for food. Okay, and food production has not increased at that pace. So in that case, there is increase in demand as compared to supply. So what will happen? There will be rise of food prices. Food की prices बढ़ जाएंगी. अब ऐसे में क्या हुआ? जो agricultural groups थे, they were landlords, who were growing foods. They raised the prices and they're taking the benefit of it. In between, what happened? Because of scarcity of food, what happened? There was import of corn from different countries in England. Okay, but the agricultural groups were not happy because in that case they had to reduce the price of their food to compete with the imported corn. So what they did, they forced the government to impose corn laws. In this, what they did, the government, under the pressure of these landed groups, they, banned the import of corn. कि country में बाहर का corn नहीं आएगा. Okay. And then what will happen in that case? जो local आपके landed groups हैं, rich farmers हैं, they'll try to sell food at high prices. Now what happened? The people who were living in cities, mostly the industrialists, the urban dwellers, they forced the government to abolish corn law. उन्होंने protest किया कि kindly abolish this corn law and corn will be imported in our country. Okay? Because they were against high prices. अब इस केस में क्या हुआ कि government under the pressure of industrialists and urban dwellers, they had to abolish the corn law. पहले उन्होंने लैंडेड ग्रुप के प्रेशर में इम्पोज किया कॉर्न लॉ. उसके बाद जब अर्बन ड्वेलर्स ने इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट ने प्रोटेस्ट किया हाई प्राइसेस के खिलाफ, तो दे हैड टू अबॉलिश कॉर्न लॉ. अब जो लोकल एग्रीकल्चरिस्ट है, उनकी जो फूड की डिमांड बिल्कुल ही कम हो गई. दे वर अनेबल टू कम्पीट विद द इम्पोर्ट्स. In that case, there were so many people, there were thousands of men and women who used to work in the lands of these rich farmers, they lost their job. And they started migrating to cities. And then they emigrated to overseas also in search of better future. So it led to large scale migration also. In between, एक कंट्री की पॉपुलेशन है जो अपनी गवर्नमेंट से कह रही है कि भाई आप अपनी इकोनॉमी आइसोलेट नहीं कर सकते, you have to import corn or import the food commodities from outside. So this is a very good example कि जो people है वो government को कह रहे हैं कि आप isolate नहीं कर सकते economy, and the result was what? What was the consequence? Thousands of men and women, they lost their livelihood in the rural area, and they had to migrate to cities, and later on they had to migrate to America and Australia also. So it led to large scale migration, around 50 million people emigrated from Europe to America and Australia in search of better future. And this was all poverty ridden population. A problem क्यों आए? Because of large scale increase in population. Okay, and if we talk about the whole world, around 150 million people, they left their homes from all over world. They crossed oceans, even they traveled vast distances over land in search of better future. So now in this set, what is happening? In this example, what is happening? There is movement of people, and movement of people is one of the factor in the making of global world. Okay, in the first example, अगर आप पीछे जाओ क्या हो रहा है? There is import and export of goods and services. This is also one of the factor of the making of global world. Now we come to global agricultural economy. This is an example taken from we can say canal colonies in Punjab. Okay, it was by 1890 when global agricultural economy took place. ठीक है? Earlier what happened? The food for the population was grown within that local area. अगर इंग्लैंड की population है उसका food इंग्लैंड के farm से ही आ रहा है. ठीक है? अब क्या है? Now you can see here, it is written here, you can see here also, you can see the cursor. Now the food is no longer coming from a nearby village or town, but it is coming from thousands of miles away. In class 9th, you have read about forest society and colonialism. Okay? आपने देखा कि ब्रिटिशर्स ने उसके बाद इंडिया में आने के बाद क्या किया? There was deforestation, the forest was cleared, and what was going on? Expansion of agriculture. Why? To feed the population of Europe. So now the food is grown 1,000 miles away, and then it is transported from there to these areas to feed the growing population. Okay? Even transportation के जो मोड्स है वो भी चेंज हुए, लाइक रेलवे टू स्पीड अप द ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, शिप्स में भी स्टीम इंजन्स आ गए, मूवमेंट फास्ट हो गया. ओके, एंड इफ यू टॉक अबाउट कैनाल कॉलोनीज, दिस इज एन एग्जांपल फ्रॉम वेस्ट पंजाब. For Punjab, I hope you know the last powerful ruler of Punjab was Maharaja Ranjit Singh. After his death, what happened? The Britishers, they attacked on Punjab. It led to Anglo-Sikh War, and the Britishers, they won the war, and then Punjab was annexed in British Empire. And then what they did in the western Punjab, Punjab is quite a highly fertile area, but the West Punjab, there was problem because the source of irrigation was not there. So what happened? They developed canals. Why? Why this canal construction is going on? To irrigate the land. Okay? Fine. And then there was British controlled large farms wherein foods were grown there. Okay, so what happened? The British, they brought technology, new technology in the form of canal construction. Okay, fine. And they used the local labor, or they brought labor from the other parts of India there. Okay, and they started doing farming there. So it was state controlled farm. Okay, and it was not only food item which was grown in these canal colonies. They used to grow some cash crops also, like cotton, rubber, जिसकी डिमांड पूरी दुनिया में बढ़ रही थी. Okay, so you can see that basically in commodities के through अगर आप देखो between 1820 to 1914 जो world trade है, it is estimated to have multiplied from 25 to 40 times, and near 60% of this trade, it comprised of primary products. So this is also one of the examples. Now here what is happening? There is transfer of technology, and then product क्या है? Food grain है या कोई cash crop है. Now it is transported to another part of the world. Okay, so again there is movement of goods, which is one of the factor of the making of global world. Okay, so whenever we talk about the development of modern economies, you can explain through these three examples. Okay, then we come to role of technology. Now technology also played very important role in the making of global world. We'll try to understand this with the example of refrigerated ships. Okay. Now when The population in Europe was growing. Okay, so what happened? America was colonized. Fine, they started doing farming there and supplying the food to Europe. Even there were other items also which were transported from America to Europe. Okay, like you can see that till the 1870s, animals were also shipped live from America to Europe. Okay, अब आप इमेजिन करो कि एक बड़ी शिप है जिसमें एनिमल्स लाइव एनिमल्स को उसमें लोड किया गया. Okay, and then it crosses Atlantic Ocean and comes to Europe. Fine. Now in between what will happen? The animals will not be given proper food in the ship. They lose their weight. Some of the animals may get infected, may fall ill. The animals will lose the weight also. In that case, जब ये यूरोप के पोर्ट पे पहुंचता है और जो लोकल ट्रेडर्स when they'll buy the animal, obviously उसकी प्राइस डिक्रीज हो जाएगी, उसकी वैल्यू डिक्रीज हो गई, तो उन्हें पे ज्यादा करना पड़ेगा पर प्रॉफिट कम हो रहा है. सो दे आर गोइंग टू व्हेन दे विल स्लॉटर द एनिमल एंड दे विल सेल द मीट, द प्राइसेस विल बी हाई. Okay, in that case the European population is getting poor quality of meat, that also at high price. But now comes the role of technology. अब आप इमेजिन करो रेफ्रिजरेटेड शिप्स आ गई. ओके, नाउ द एनिमल्स दे आर स्लॉटेड इन अमेरिका, दे आर पैक्ड प्रॉपरली एंड दे आर ट्रांसपोर्टेड इन फ्रोजन फॉर्म इन द शिप. अब आप देखो शिप की जो हाइजीनिक कंडीशन होगी वो अच्छी होगी, सैनिटेशन अच्छा होगा, है ना, लॉस भी कम हो गया. और जब ये यूरोप के पोर्ट पर पहुंचा, ट्रेडर्स को कम प्राइस पे मिल रहा है, सो दे विल सेल इट इन द मार्केट आल्सो एट लो प्राइस. नाउ द यूरोपियन पॉपुलेशन इज गेटिंग बेटर क्वालिटी ऑफ मीट एट लो प्राइस. ओके, तो उनकी जो भी सेविंग हो रही है दे कैन स्पेंड इट ऑन सम अदर आइटम्स, सो दिस इज रेजिंग देयर स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग ऑल्सो. सो टेक्नोलॉजी हैज प्लेड हियर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल, इजंट इट? टेक्नोलॉजी में आप और भी एग्जांपल ले सकते हो. फॉर एग्जांपल फास्टर रेलवेज, ओके, देयर वर लाइटर वैगन्स, टेलीग्राफ आ गया, कम्युनिकेशन इंक्रीज हो गया, स्टीम इंजन आ गया, शिप्स में स्टीम इंजन लग गया, स्पीड बढ़ गई शिप की. सो even packing technology, we can talk about packing technology also. Okay, कि packing technology improve हुई. अब जितने भी perishable goods हैं, now we can transport them, we can store them for long period of time because of improvement in packing technology, and we can transport it also to longer distances. Okay, so technology has played very important role in creating this modern world, which is known as global world. Even you can talk about information technology also. Now interaction is quite easy. Money transfer is quite easy. Banking facilities are there. Transportation speed is quite high. So we can transport things at a higher speed. So on the whole, we can say that technology has played very important role in creating modern world. Late 19th century colonialism. Students, in this section will discuss about impact of colonialism and expansion of trade by the colonizers on countries of Africa. Now when the expansion was going on, when the expansion of trade was going on and world economy was generating, it was not good for everybody. Okay, मतलब इसका positive impact हर country पे नहीं पड़ा. कुछ कंट्री के लिए इट वॉज अ सोर्स ऑफ लॉस ऑफ फ्रीडम एंड लाइवलीहुड ऑल्सो. As I told you about Africa, the late 19th century European conquest, it produced many painful economic experiences, even painful social and ecological experiences also in the country. You can see in this map of Africa, the boundaries are in straight line. Have you ever thought why it is so? Because if you observe the other continents, you'll see the boundaries are zigzag, they're not straight. But in Africa, we find this uniqueness. What's the reason? Actually, the reason behind this is Berlin Conference. This conference was held in 1885. It is also known as Paper Partition of Africa. Okay, the European powers, they had rivalry over Africa. Africa was a continent with a lot of mineral reserves, natural reserves, and these European powers wanted to expand their colonies in this continent. So there was rivalry. So finally they decided, let us sit down, talk with each other, and divide this region amongst each other peacefully. So there was a conference held at Berlin in 1885, and these European powers, they sat there with a map of Africa and divided it quite peacefully amongst them. And the outcome of this conference was Britain and France, they made vast additions to their overseas territories, That means they emerged as vast colonial power. Even Belgium and Germany, they also became new colonial powers. And USA also became colonial power by taking over some of the colonies of Spain. Now think, USA was first colonized by Spain. It was a Spanish mission, who sponsored Christopher Columbus, and they reached Caribbean and then America, and they colonized them. And when US became colony, it was by taking over some of the colonies of Spain. So this is a sort of reversal of position also. Okay. And ultimately, when these Europeans, when they were expanding their areas here, they were making their colonies, what was their aim? Actually, they wanted to do mining because Africa was rich in mineral reserves. Like you have heard about Kimberley mines in South Africa, which is a rich diamond reserve. There are gold mines also. Then there are copper mines also. So their main, aim behind colonizing Africa was mining and using the natural resource. Now they wanted labor there also. Now these people in Africa mostly are tribals. अगर हम पूरी दुनिया का ट्राइबल पॉपुलेशन देखें तो मोर देन 50% इज इन अफ्रीका एंड दीज ट्राइबल्स देयर नीड्स आर वेरी लेस. इनको जिंदगी से ज्यादा कुछ नहीं चाहिए. सो when the Europeans they wanted these local people to work for them as laborers, these people were not ready to work for them. उन्हें काम करने की जरूरत ही नहीं थी. तो उन्हें बोला गया कि भाई हमारे लिए काम करिए. क्यों काम करें, हम आपको पैसे देंगे. They don't need the money because whatever they need they were getting from nature. So finally the Europeans they started using some tactics to create need among the local Africans so that they could work for them as laborers. So what they did, they imposed heavy taxes on them, okay, which could be paid only by working for wages on plantation and mines, okay. And then later on what they did, they introduced some inheritance laws, they were changed here. And what they did, like the inheritance laws were applicable only on one child, okay. Like if there's a tribal is having 4 sons, only one of his son would get the right of his property. In that way also they wanted to create need among the local people so that they could work for them as laborers. And finally, so these kind of cunning steps were taken, to motivate them and to force the local people to work for them as laborers. And in between, these Africans, they are mostly cattle herders, they are tribals, they rear cattle, then they hunt a little bit in forest also. So what happened in late 1880s, cattle were imported from British Asia to Africa in order to feed the Italian soldiers, who were invading Eritrea in East Africa. Now, these cattle which were imported from British Asia, they were infected by rinderpest, and through them, this, disease, it spread into the cattle of Africa also. Rinderpest is a cattle plague, and when it spread in the African cattle, around 90% of the African cattle they died. So the loss of cattle, it was a sort of loss of livelihood for Africans. And now these people, especially these tribals, these local people in Africa, they were forced to work for European as laborers. So whenever we talk about the expansion of colonialism, expansion of trade, and how it led to, creating of global economy, it did affect the people in different continents in negative way also.